Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to apply a vinyl bald cap. So the first step before applying and actually putting on the bald cap is slicking back your hair. So I'm going to do that first. And I like to put on a hair mask underneath just to moisturize my hair. So I'll show you what I'm using. For the blonde side, because I'm still toning it, I'm going to use Purple Conditioner by Sunbum. I also have this leave-in conditioner, but I think I'm going to kind of do both. It's a tone enhancer. And then for the not toned side of my head, I am going to do this hair mask, which is a hair mask by Eco Love, and it's the blueberry, grape, and lavender one. It has a strong smell, but I like it. And they're all cruelty-free and vegan. So first I'm gonna kind of damp my hair a little bit. And I am wearing a costume. I don't casually wear a white button-down shirt and tie when I film usually, but this character calls for it. Okay, so first I'll do the red side of my head. This side is my natural hair color. So most of the time you would use like gel or hairspray to slick your hair back for a bald cap, but like I said, for what I do, I like to moisturize my hair. If I was wearing a bald cap all day, I maybe wouldn't do this because it would add to the heat, I think. I think doing a hairspray or a gel would make more sense if you were like doing a full Halloween party or Halloween night. But for this look, since I'm just filming with it, I like to moisturize my hair. And of course it would be the acetone of all things that I knock over, because it stings! When I touch it, I have a cut on my thumb. Fun fact, because I knocked over the acetone, it's actually one of the fastest evaporating liquids. And I know this because a couple years ago, or maybe like 3 years ago, I got some in my eye and I had to call poison control, and they told me that unless it kept bothering me that it's probably fine because it evaporates very fast. So I do a tight ponytail in the back, and while I'm at it, I'm going to do some additional toning spray. You can also use bobby pins to put down your hair if it's sticking out in some areas, but for me, I'm noticing that it's fine how it is. So the next step that I do, because I am going to bring the bald cap down past my eyebrows, which normally a lot of people would do it on the forehead. For this look, I'm going to cover my eyebrows, so I'll go ahead and pull it down farther than you normally would. But to apply the edges the same way, I'm just doing it lower. I'm take my Elmer's glue and I'm going to do it back and forth to really saturate all of the hairs. And then going to use my little spoolie brush to brush them upwards. And then if you want to practically make your eyebrows invisible at some point, you can color correct them. So your hair shows blue underneath foundation and makeup. So to counteract that, you put red on top. So it'll look a little silly for a while, but it will help in the long run. So this is what the bald cap looks like. This is the Krylon brand. It has a little sticker that says front, and that's generally where you want to cut the shape of your forehead. You can do that two ways. You can put the whole bald cap on as it is, but it would be covering your whole face, and then cut around your face, which can be a little complicated, or you can kind of eyeball it before you put it on. So I have my bald cap, take a little pair of scissors and cut. Since I'm doing it over my eyebrows, I'm going to do a very small cut, but you basically cut like a U shape into the front of the bald cap, and it's very thin. So I would always err on the side of caution and cut a smaller shape and just trim it while it's on your head. Because if it rips, it's much easier to fix if it's, lower on your face. Because to be honest, especially the first couple times you put these on, it is very prone to ripping. They're very thin, unlike latex bald caps. I use vinyl because they're easier to blend, they're easier to apply, and latex is thicker, so it's harder to blend it into your skin. Also, for someone like me who has a mild latex allergy, it's better to cover my whole head with vinyl. I just recommend these so much more than the latex ones. So I'm going to stretch that back to front, or front to back rather, and then as you can see, it's still over my eyes. However, you know, because I did the little U-shape cut first, it's not over my nose and mouth, which is a little less disorienting. And I lift it from my eyes and I'll get the cut that I want. Just being very careful not to poke myself in the eye. And then trimming it down towards the ears. Have I cut my hair while doing this? Yes. Another really important reason why it's good to really slick your hair back before you do it. Okay. Okay, so like I said, normally you would do it more towards your hairline. The same technique applies to actually gluing it down and trimming it and blending it, but if you have a look where you have to cover your eyebrows, you can definitely do it this way, and it will kind of give you like a 2-in-1. It is a little harder to blend when it's this far down your face. For what I'm doing today, I know it's going to be a lot of like lines that are going in all directions, so the blend will be easier if it was just going to be skin tone. If I was just doing skin tone, like bald head, no eyebrows, I would apply the bald cap up here and I would do a separate eyebrow cover because it would be a slightly cleaner look. Okay, so I should mention too that I get these from Friends Beauty Supply, but it is the Krylon brand, so I'm sure that they have it in other places as well. The next thing, so I have my acetone, which I'll be using to dissolve the edges, and it's the same thing as nail polish remover, so pure acetone. And I mark the cup with a piece of tape because I also use 99 proof isopropyl alcohol when I'm filming, and I don't want to mix them up, which I've done. So I mark my cup, and then I also have my Prozac prosthetic glue in a cup with some Q-tips so that I don't have to dip directly into the bottle. It creates a mess. And before I actually start gluing it down, something I'm going to do, because it's very warm, is I'm going to give myself a little vent in the back of my head. So first I take my glue so that it doesn't rip past the point that I want it to rip. So in the back of my head I do a little circle of glue, and then I put my finger in the center just so I can hold the place. Take another Q-tip, dip it into the acetone, and I just dissolve a little hole back there, and it just helps the back of my head breathe. It's kind of in a spot that even if you were doing like your whole head, you wouldn't really see. It's just a good little way to get some extra airflow, because these get hot. So, okay. The next thing, I will take my ears out. For this look, I don't really need to, but I am going to put fabric over there anyway, so I'll just show you how to take your ears out. First thing we're going to do is lift up certain portions of the bald cap, apply glue, and then apply glue to the bald cap itself, and then basically wait till both sides get kind of clear, so where it's not totally dry, but it's no longer so wet, and that way it sticks together better. So holding it out until I get like that tackiness, and then I stick it together. I apply eyelashes the same way, so by putting glue on both the eyelashes and your eyelid, it creates a surface for both sides to adhere to. So I just find that that's a more effective. You could apply glue to just your skin or just the bald cap, but I think this gives you a cleaner edge. So just waiting for that to get tacky. And if there's parts where it seems like you maybe applied a little too much, you can just I'm gonna wipe it a little bit. Okay, so that's my first little glue, and then we just do that all the way around the head, which seems tedious, and if you're thinking that it is, it is. Applying a bald cap is a tedious process, but then you're primed and ready to go for the rest of the makeup. And it's better to apply it right and apply it carefully than to rush through it, because you will see the clumsiness of that later on when you apply your actual makeup. So it gets quite warm in here, especially without the AC running, but I can't run the AC and talk at the same time. So we're just gonna keep moving along, and then letting my ears out will also will definitely make it a lot cooler in here. And for people who feel like they would get claustrophobic in a bald cap, that's another benefit to the vinyl bald cap, is that it is so light and you could just easily rip it open if you needed to, that you really don't get those feelings of claustrophobia in it. When I get towards the edges over here, sometimes I don't adhere the glue to both sides because I know that I'm going to be covering them anyways, and it's just easier to not worry about it. So those sides I do a little quicker than on the face. The next thing that I'm going to do is take out my ears, which is a funny thing to say. So I take my Q-tip with my acetone or a nail polish remover, it's the same thing, and make it just a small hole. You see how it just dissolves the vinyl. So take a small hole, not quite the size of the ear because it is going to stretch around the ear, and start with taking my earlobe out, and then the rest of my ear. And that is a lot cooler already because my ears can breathe. So just finish dissolving this little section. And you can then glue down the part next to your ear. For what I'm doing, I know I'm covering my ears, so I'm not going to glue this down so I don't have to take that glue off later, but it will stay. Like, it won't continue to rip open because it's not that tight, especially with this hole being gone, so I don't need to glue it down. And it's very easy, although it might seem difficult to take Pros-Aide out of the hair. I just take a fine tooth comb and some conditioner and I just brush it out of my hair and it comes right out. Definitely the first time I did it, it was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know if it was going to come out, but it comes out quite easy. So even if you did glue it around your ears, I wouldn't be nervous about like getting it in your hair. Okay. As you can see, it's thin, so you can see through it, which is where the makeup comes in. You also could glue it down in the back of your neck. I also, have a little bun back here. You could plait your hair to be thinner towards your head to disguise your hair better. I don't really see the back of my head for these videos, so I'm applying the makeup on myself, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is blend the edges of the bald cap. So the way you do that is you take your acetone again, and you go to the edges of the bald cap, and you just kind of melt those edges into your skin. And this can be such a delicate process. You could spend 20 minutes going around and making all of your edges of your bald cap look perfect. For today's look, I know I don't need a perfect edge. So this is how you would do it. You would go around to all the edges where your skin meets the bald cap. And you go around and you would just get like any of those like little areas that weren't glued, or just like any folds, you could melt away the folds. And just find like all those little areas. I don't need to do that, but the way that you do it is you just continue to put acetone on this little Q-tip and you just go around and do that until it looks perfect. And the last thing that I'll show you for this little bald cap application tutorial is I'll show you some different ways that you can blend your skin into it. So I like this Krylon concealer wheel because it is very thick, so you don't have to put too many layers on to blend it to your skin. As you can see, it just kind of completely covers that section. So you would just do that where your skin meets. I'll do it right over my eyebrows. Of course, I could color match it and do some foundation on top of it as well. The more red that you put in, the easier it would be to cover. This side, I had a little less red, so you can see a little bit more of my eyebrows shining through. But that would be something that you could definitely fix just with layers. Of course, that's one way to do it, is to use some thick makeup like this. So that's one way to do it. You can use something like a concealer wheel to get like a thick coverage. And then you could also do your foundation. So if I show you what that looks like, I use the Anastasia 100N foundation. But you know, you tap on your actual foundation. It's even better to have the concealer wheel underneath it because it really just helps to cover those eyebrows. I don't have full coverage on right now, but if I did, I would just continue to carry this to the rest of my face. So again, that's one way you can do it. For the look that I'm doing with this bald cap, it's gonna be like burlap and different textures and all that. So I don't need to do my whole head, but I will just show you one more thing, which is how to use an airbrush. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use white for this because I know I'm gonna need it later. So I don't have to clean out the machine again, but put white in the machine, start the compressor. And then there's a lever here that you pull back on and you press down, and that would be your fastest coverage, is to use an airbrush machine. I do also have my Mehron paint palette, and you could blend out the colors that you need here. So if I was going to do my skin tone, I would take generally my isopropyl alcohol, but for full coverage stuff, sometimes the water does work a little bit better. So I would take a little bit of the light brown and the white and this coral color and kind of match to my skin tone as best as I could on the palette. And it's definitely a thinner, I used a lot of water, so it's a little bit thinner of an application. Let's see if I can blend that out a little better. It's not a perfect conceal right now, but definitely is good just to get a layer on. And even on top of this, you could do foundation. So I don't think there's like a wrong or right way to do it. Sometimes it's about the materials that you have on hand, how quickly you want to do it. That was using the Mehron paint palette. I could use a ton of my foundation and cover my whole head. Another thing you could do, I have this Ben Nye Fair powder that I have, and I can take this and I can dull the color of the bald cap. And I hope too I've demonstrated like what steps are important, what steps you could go quickly on, what steps you could skip depending on what you're doing. So if you were doing like Gamora and or Nebula rather, who has the bald head, if you're doing like things like purple and all of that, you don't need to go through the trouble of matching your skin, obviously, because you're going to change your skin tone altogether. So it just depends on what your look is going to be. But I can take my powder, I can get rid of some of that shine. And most of us, you know, our skin tone has variation in it. I have things like freckles. So you could take your airbrush and add in things like the freckles as well if you were trying just to do a bald cap that blends into your skin. You can have things like reds and whatnot in the bald cap. But for all intents and purposes, that's how to apply a bald cap, and I hope that that's helpful. Now I'm gonna become Scarecrow, so I get to totally change up my entire face, and I genuinely hope that this was helpful. If you enjoyed this little tutorial, be sure to stick around for the full makeup, and please follow, like, and or subscribe to wherever you're watching. All right, see you next time.